Hi, my name's Ken. A few years back, I wouldn't have had the confidence to tell anyone my story. I was an extreme introvert. I didn't have many friends, and the few people who knew me referred to me as a hermit. I stayed at home most of the time. I loved to write, and the world of my imagination was the only world I loved to explore. There were times when the only chance I got to see the outside was when I'd run out of food and there weren't any deliveries available. Even then, I'd make sure to only go out late at night, so that I wouldn't have to come across too many people on the street. I was so glad I lived with my brother. Even though he could be a bit tough on me, I would never survive without him. At least, that's what he keeps reminding me. You really are hopeless, Ken. What would you ever do without me? I guess I can't blame you. If I had that face, I wouldn't go out either. You should try wearing hoodies more. Or how about a mask? That way when you go out, people won't get the fright of their lives when they see you. Drew and I used to be tight as thieves. We had no choice. We only had each other. Especially since we didn't have our parents anymore. We lived with our aunt, who only took us in because she was legally required to. The beginning of the end for Drew and I began when Sophie came into our lives. She was the most beautiful girl I'd ever seen, and she was funny. Sophie, Drew, and I became the best of friends. Every summer we'd hike to the mountains, and we'd spend our days camping and playing in the river and fishing. Drew and I fell in love with her at the same time. As brothers, we decided to just leave it so nobody would get hurt. Little did I know, Drew never respected that agreement. While I was trying my best not to step on his toes, Drew was out there asking Sophie out on dates and winning her heart. They became a couple on my birthday. We fought about it, but I had to accept that my brother won. I had no choice anyway. Our aunt threw us out of her house because I'd just turned 18. Drew had some savings, and Sophie chipped in too, so he was able to get an apartment. I had nowhere else to go. And to contribute to our expenses, I published the stories I only wrote for myself on MatPad. I got a few bucks here and there on Patreon. I never expected that so many people would read them. When my brother saw how much attention they were getting, he made me delete all the full stories and told me to make them a subscription. That did get us way more money. I'm taking 80% of the cut. After all, it's my idea and you don't pay rent. Drew became sort of my manager, but he deleted my name and my photo from my account and changed it with his. He began telling people my work was his. Oh, you know how it is. People need to see a handsome face. If they see yours, they're never going to read your books. It's just for marketing, trust me. I began working for my brother. He was the one who sold my work and got lots of people to read them, and I was happy to stay out of the limelight anyway. As long as I was making money and people were happy with my stories, I was happy too. I became kind of the invisible man behind them, but Drew liked to rub it in. One Thanksgiving, while cousins were visiting us, Drew began laughing with Sophie while looking at me. And when I asked what they were talking about, Drew snapped at me and told me to mind my own business. You know, just go and check on the turkey, you useless fool. You barely do anything in the house. If it weren't for my wildly successful books, you would be homeless right now. My cousins already didn't like me because they thought I was weird. Now they also thought I was a jobless leech. It started getting to me how Drew kept saying I was useless, even though he was making lots of money for my work. And I was only seeing a small portion of that money. So, in an act of rebellion, I decided to prove him wrong one day. I started by willing myself to go out. I thought I'd go to a cafe and work there, like how I see writers do it in movies. But as soon as I sat down, I noticed something rather bizarre. At the cafe, almost everyone was girls, and they were all on their laptops and phones. And when I noticed their screens, I got goosebumps. I was either in a really strange episode of The Twilight Zone, or I was seeing things. I blinked several times, but the screens didn't change. They really did have photos of me as their wallpapers. I approached one of them to take a closer look. The girl I came to was annoyed when she noticed some strange guy was staring at her screen. Excuse me? Can you get back? You're my personal Oh, my God! The girl shrieked as if a tarantula had just landed on her face. Ken! It's actually Ken! Every head in that cafe turned towards me. And when they saw me, they all lost it collectively. Girls began to scream. Others began to bang their laptops on their tables, losing their minds at the sight of me. For a second, I thought, wow, was that how ugly I was? That people would just go nuts with one look at me? But then they started running towards me instead of away from me, and I legged it. 20 girls screaming my name turned into 40, then 80. By the time I ran up the porch and closed the doors, there were 100 of them calling out my name. What the? Is the whole town after you with torches and pitchforks? What's with all the racket? I told you the world won't like seeing you out there. Why did you go out without telling me? I told you never to do that. But as Drew was busy lecturing me, I was busy packing my bags. I checked my phone, and for the first time I Googled myself. And it didn't take a federal agent to find out the truth. I was famous. A bunch of my early fans noticed how my account changed names and photos, and they knew Drew wasn't the one who wrote all my books. There was an underground society of women who loved my stories, and they loved me, and they were out there. In that moment, I didn't need Drew anymore. I knew if I went out there, I could stand on my own 2 feet without my brother looming over my shoulder. What? Where are you going? Ken? What's happening? Ask your talented boyfriend the truth. Ask him who the real writer is. Drew knew immediately that the jig was up, and he knew he'd lose everything if I walked. Okay, I know you think you're famous or something, but listen, I'm the only one who can sell these stories. I'm the face, right? And sure, you're the talent, so how about this? How about we do 50-50? It's only fair, right? Sophie looked up from her phone, seeing the thousands of tweets about me being spotted at the cafe. Suddenly, she realized I was the one she wanted. Oh, I guess I chose the wrong brother, huh? Ken? I'm coming with you. I can pack in 20 minutes. What? Don't bother, Soph. You know what? You did choose the right brother. You're both equally shallow. And you, brother? Why would I settle for 50% when I can make all the profit on my own? You've been taking all my money this whole time. Well, not anymore. I walked out of there without another word, and immediately I regretted coming out of the front door. The crowd was still there. Hundreds of cameras flashed and clicked. 30 girls lunged at me, screaming my name. Ken, I love you! Ken, marry me! Ken, have my babies! I ducked, rolled, and slid out of there. Luckily, I was used to evading people so much I managed to slip out. But then the throng of screaming women followed me all over town. I had no choice but to run into a random gas station's toilets. I rummaged around my bag, thinking I needed a disguise. And then I found sunglasses, a fake mustache, and some fake buck teeth that I used for Halloween a year ago. I was out of the cubicle, confident that I was going to be home free. And then I heard a cough. Do you really think you can just walk out of here? I turned so quick, I felt like I flickered to a different universe. There, by the bathroom door, was a girl even more beautiful than Sophie. Don't worry, I'm not here to rat you out. I'm here to help. I'm a big fan, you know? Yeah? You and everyone else out there, apparently. Fine, you caught me. I guess I'm doing it so I can keep you to myself. But I mean it! I can help you slip past them! Okay. What's the plan? You have to kiss me. I turned red immediately. Kiss her? I barely know her. I never even held a girl's hand before. Not even Sophie's. She saw my nervousness, and I knew I could never initiate it. So she grabbed my hand, held me close to her, and then she pushed the door open. Her lips touched mine and my mind was blown. It felt like time slowed down, like the world gained color when it was black and white before. I barely noticed the girls who were chanting my name outside, and it turned out they barely noticed me, and Haley too. The plan worked. Maybe it was the disguise, maybe it was because I was kissing Haley, or maybe it was both. But in no time, Haley was pushing me into her car and she was starting the engine. It was too late when they all stormed the bathroom and realized I had slipped past them. They ran towards the convertible. They waved and desperately begged to stay. I laughed when I saw that one of the girls who were trying to get to us was Sophie. I leaned into Haley and kissed her again. I looked back at Sophie and smirked at her. Just before they could reach us, Haley's car lurched forward and we were off into the sunset. Bye, losers! That was the beginning of my long and awesome love story with my future wife.